My grandparents remember America's right to fight. They have told me many stories and showed me many pictures of how America took a stand. The story begins with parts of a letter my grandmother wrote to my grandfather. December 6, 1941, Saturday afternoon. Dearest, say, mister, you better stop frightening me. I'm nearly frantic because of you and the blamed Japs. Better take care. I'm looking forward to a wedding in January, whether here or in Hawaii. Any news on your furlough? Just got my answer, my darling. A radio bulletin just announced war with Japan is imminent. My grandfather enlisted in the Navy in 1932. He was stationed at Pearl Harbor on the USS Maryland beginning in 1941. I'm going to show you how the U.S. took a stand through the eyes of my grandfather and my grandmother. The majority of American ships and planes were stationed at the naval base in Pearl Harbor. Admiral Yamamoto had been planning an attack on Pearl Harbor since we had stopped supplying them with oil. They wanted to make sure we wouldn't be ready for this attack. Sunday morning began normally. The crews were finishing up breakfast and getting ready to go to Liberty at 9 o'clock, but that quickly changed. The attack brought confusion and disorder to the islands. Many of our ships were damaged or destroyed. The USS Arizona sank, and the Oklahoma was capsized. The Maryland sustained minor damage because it was shielded by the USS Oklahoma. Lucky for us, our aircraft carriers were out to sea and were untouched. The dockyards and fuel tanks were not severely damaged, leaving us able to repair and mobilize the ships and planes. World War II made air power an essential key to modern warfare. After the initial confusion, the military were able to quickly recover the men from damaged ships and reorganize, readying themselves to stand up to further attacks. They displayed great physical endurance and spirit. As a result of December 7th's attack, President Roosevelt signed the declaration to enter into war with Japan. This attack shocked and enraged the previously divided American people into a level of purposeful unity rarely seen before or after.
Today, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The facts of yesterday and today speak for themselves. With confidence in our armed forces, with the unbounding determination of our people, we will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God.
The news about the attack got around fast. It was in the papers and radio. The memory of the sneak attack fueled a determination to fight. Everyone started to unite and take a stand. Recruiting lines were long. While men left to fight, women took over factory jobs and joined the Women's Air Corps. Many women took volunteer positions, like my grandmother's many hours to the Civilian Defense, Red Cross, and other organizations on the home front. Much of the women's overburdened daily life went unnoticed. They patriotically survived on the home front alone, sometimes up to 26 months or more. They managed their time and resources wisely, making do with limited food and materials to run a home. They learned to cook following the federal government's rationing guidelines, as we see from her cookbook. Even children united by helping to collect metal to recycle, melt, and make into parts for ships and planes. December 8th, 1941, Monday night. I've been practically glued to the radio. Did I say I was frantic Saturday? That was mild as to my feelings now. The bulletins are not sending in the names of the ships in. Or if they did, it was 2 or 3 reportedly hit. Please, my darling, let me know if you're all right. I'm waiting for the Navy to send back the most important battleship to the States. P.S. My sister and I enrolled in the local civilian defense, so we will be doing our part here. Always yours, Marianne. By June, the perseverance, sacrifice, and skills of the Navy aviators paid off. We took a major victory stand with Japan in the battles Coral Sea and Midway, knocking out her striking power and showing off our strong naval air power. My grandparents were not able to be married in January 1942 as planned, but were able to quickly have a civil service in San Francisco conducted by the captain of the USS Maryland. My grandfather then went back to sea 3 days later. The Maryland showed how ready she was to take a stand at the battles Tarawa, Kwajalein, and Saipan. As we see from my grandfather's orders of the day, the officers prepared the crew both mentally and physically for these early morning attacks. The Maryland's role in all 3 battles was to draw fire, locate, and destroy dug-in enemy positions. In September 1945, my grandfather was transferred to the LST-847. They served in many capacities and were designed specifically for World War II to quickly deliver troops, tanks, and cargo to the battle straight from the beach. These ships, along with American superior air power, were a valuable asset to the Pacific campaign. The U.S. engaged in many battles. These were in response to the attack on Pearl Harbor, initiating our need to fight the Axis. After the war, LSTs were used to transport Chinese and Japanese back to their homeland. As we will see in my grandfather's letter, hopeful feelings were being felt as war's ending was about to be witnessed. September 1st, 1945. Dearest, guess I've been saying tomorrow's the big day now for a long time, but if nothing else happens, the war will officially be ended. How long it will be before that long voyage home, Lord only knows. I used to think that the days passed slowly, but it's worse than ever now. I guess I'm as bad as the rest of the boys. I just want to get home. All during the Second World War, every effort was made to keep reminders of December 7th's act of infamy bright in our minds of our military and our home front. That infamous day's memory fueled the U.S. to take a stand, waking the sleeping giant, uniting the people of the United States of America to stand up for our country, to become one against Japan. I want to thank both my grandparents for sharing with me a part of history that is slowly dying daily, and for all the wonderful memories that they left behind. The hundreds of letters they left helps me remember that World War II wasn't fought just by planes, ships, or weapons, but by people. It's easy to forget that it took the commitment and sacrifice of real people, like my grandparents, to make our nation stand the success it was. With these letters, I will never forget. With my grandparents passing during this project, I want to dedicate this in honor of all who served at home and overseas by never forgetting their courage and sacrifice for our freedom. As Abraham Lincoln once said, any nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure. More than 16 million Americans wore a uniform and took a stand, and more than 6 million women worked in war-related industries. These were known as the Greatest Generation. My grandparents were one of the millions to take a stand.